Hello everyone, and welcome back to Dark Souls 2. As you'll probably notice, this audio is not Dark Souls 2 because I goofed up my OBS settings for a little bit. So, for a little bit we are gonna enjoy some Katana Zero beats while I talk about what's going on. So our first stop is going to be to get the Pursuer. We got the Soldier's Key from the last giant, so now we can go fight the Pursuer and get access to the back tower of the Lost Bastille, leading eventually to Sinner's Rise, which I forgot was the second area, and I was just going to call the whole thing Sinner's Rise because the Lost Sinner is the boss of that area. And what's important about getting to the back area, besides not dying to random hollows, is that is where we can find Steady Hands McDuff, who is the second blacksmith of the game. And I think of them there are three blacksmiths, the last one being weaponsmith Hornifex, who is a boss weapon transmuter, but Steady Hands McDuff is the only one who can do infusions, and since we eventually want to get a dark weapon, we want to be able to go get the Dull Ember to allow him to infuse our weapons. So that is kind of what we're doing first, and also the Pursuer is kind of just next in line after the last giant. So there's not really it's not a difficulty spike to do this. The big thing is going to be trying to just get the Dark Gem. And as you can see, the Royal Swordsmen that are here are significantly stronger, and those are not flamberges, those are Royal Swordsman swords, because the flamberge is a different wavy sword this game, but they are effectively flamberges, and they do look really cool. So if I get a drop for one of those, I might spec into one just for the memes, but until then, we're just going to be rocking our mace and hand axe. And now I'm being extra careful, so I don't think I talked about this one in the first video, but in Dark Souls 2, you can get neutral attacked and backstabbed out of going into the fog wall. It's not until you are through the fog wall that you're completely safe. So that being said, I am being careful to just clear all of the enemies so that way I don't get ganked at the fog gate trying to go into a boss fight with less than full health and just getting an unlucky roll. So now here we are fighting the Pursuer. You can use that ballista. However, I've not used these ballistas successfully on the Pursuer, and his attacks are pretty simple to strafe. And that's the other, because until you level up your adaptability, your rolls have worse iframes regardless of whether you're doing light, medium, or heavy roll. Granted, as you go up the weight classes, the rolls get worse, but for a lot of these bosses, I'm just going to be relying on positioning to just walk around them. So I think from what you've seen, I don't think I've locked onto an enemy once this entire playthrough, and I am, even when I'm going to get NPC invaders later, I'm just not going to lock on because it is so much easier to strafe and walk around attacks that you know rather than try and stay locked on. So I am clawing my controller. I've got one hand on roll, one finger on roll, one finger on light attack, and dodging that blue sword stab is really important because you'll get cursed, which lowers your maximum health, and it opens up the Pursuer's moveset to some other attacks that are pretty nasty. And it does a bunch of damage, but everything does a bunch of damage because this is Company of Champions. But yeah, as you can see, like I've done a lot of Pursuer fights, and there are some effectively mini boss Pursuers just throughout the game, and they can give you other rings. And also I got the Ring of Blades, which increases my attack power. I think it's like 50 attack rating, I want to say. I could be misremembering, and this bird just takes us to the back end of Sinner's Rise. So I'm pretty sure that it's like 50 attack for the Ring of Blades, and then like it's like 60, 75 maybe for +1 and +2 rings. But yeah, there's the Dull Ember, and that's the specific item that we need in order to make sure that Steady Hands Macduff is able to infuse items for us. And now we're gonna go straight back to Missoula and buy some stuff. So specifically, we're going to go for the Silver Cat ring, and then we're just going to buy other stuff, and then I think I'm going to use the boss. I don't know if I use them right now, but I'll be using a lot of the boss souls just as extra souls to level up. Just because I know that I'm not going to be using those particular boss weapons this playthrough. Now, as I mentioned before, and I'll be getting into more this episode, there are 4 paths, each leading to a Great Soul, and these Great Souls are the equivalent to the Lord Soul fragments of Dark Souls 1, except where in this case you just get to go to Drangleic Castle rather than the final boss. So it's kind of like it's like the halves of DS1 reversed. So to get to one of the 4 paths, you have to have enough vigor and the Silver Cat ring in order to go down the Missoula well. So, actually, before I go down the well, I think... Oh yeah, I'm going to go grab the... There's another ring here that I'm going to go grab. I forget the name of it, but it allows you to do increased poise damage to enemies, which is relevant for fighting the Hyde Knights that are in Scholar of the First Sin. So there are Hyde Knights in original Dark Souls 2. However, they are one and dones where you defeat them, and they also just like don't aggro you. So it's just like the giant old knights. However, after you defeat Dragon Rider in Hyde's Tower of Flame, the Hyde Knights are very mobile and active. And also, I don't know why, but I feel like I always just think of a hippopotamus when I see this guy. But I've been eaten by these guys so many times, and they also eat some of your souls. So I'm being incredibly careful to not get eaten and just smack this guy on the butt and run away. But he drops a ring that does extra poise damage, which makes fighting the Hyde Knights a little bit easier, so you can stagger them. Yeah, the stone ring. So now we're back in Missoula, and yeah, we're just grabbing another level before we're gonna go do some. Let's see. things where I don't want to get my souls stuck. And as I was mentioning, so there are 4 different paths. Some of them you have to like start down a little bit to access the other ones, and you're gonna go grab the 4 great souls, and once you have all 4 great souls, you get to Drungley a castle. So I'm going to be jumping around a little bit, like jumping down this well and just tagging some bonfires while I have low souls. So I think there's an achievement where you can like do this without fast traveling, meaning that the because at the end of defeating one of the 4, we'll just call them like the 4 big bosses, then you warp back to Majula using the primal bonfire. So and there's an achievement for doing it without fast traveling. However, we're not going for that. We're going for making this playthrough as not trivialized, but as simple as possible for the build. So what we're going to be doing is a lot of as we open this up, we're going to be jumping around the different paths, grabbing collectibles, and making sure that each next leg of the path is easy to handle for the build. And tagging the Grave of Saints is just useful because that way I am able to just warp down there, and I don't have to worry about a platforming error causing me to lose any souls. And here I'm actually going to be getting a DLC access item. I know that that is down there, and I know that that's not for a long time. However, I thought that there was a fire gem down here that I could infuse with my hand axe, and then that would help me out a little bit more in the Grave of Saints, because there's a lot of hollows and loincloths wielding dark weapons, and I thought that the slash damage... Oh, and here is standard Dark Souls 2 audio back. So there could be the fire gem down here, and that I just entirely missed it. But these are giant salamander fire-breathing lizards. They put Charmander to shame. They're way more effective, and as you can see, they're a pain to deal with. You can kill them, but they are, without either cheese or being a higher level, I'm gonna die a few times. So as per saving everyone's time on runbacks, here I am, and I'm gonna go grab this first item. It is not what I'm looking for because I'm not even hooked up to online play, so the cracked red eye orbs are useless, and then I just kind of died, and he is looking at me with his chameleon eyes. And now here I am thinking that I'm about to go get my wonderful, lovely fire gem, and I just grab the heavy iron key to access the Broom Tower part of the DLC without having to do a little bit of stuff from Iron Keep. So useful, but not exactly what I wanted, because like I said, I wanted the fire gem because I believe fire is also in faith scaling, or at least my fire damage bonus is. And again, I was just doing that when I had little to no souls to lose, because I wasn't planning on killing those fire salamanders right now. There are, and now that I've gotten the key item from that area, I don't ever have to go back down there to fight them. I will fight a few in the DLC, but that'll be much, much later. I forget if I get anything super useful up here that's not just like some extra Titanite shards, because I think in not Scholar of the First Sin, there was an Estus Flask shard up here, but I do get some useful stuff, and the door is locked by the soldier. The first door is locked by the soldier's key, so you have to kill last giant in order to get up here. Yeah, because I think either that chest or this item was an Estus Flask shard, and in original DS2. Again, not Scholar, because there are, like, it's minor changes because, like, it's the same game plus the DLC, but there are enough differences between Scholar and the First Sin and original Dark Souls 2 to make things confusing and or inconvenient, because there's extra petrified enemies that you need to use fragrant branches of yore on, which are like one playthrough use items that you collect, so they don't carry over into the plus, and there's like just enough to get through all of the enemies, and one of the 4 main paths is locked behind them. And I forget exactly where all of them are in Scholar, but I know there are some at the end of Grave of Saints and in the Lost Bastille. So, not that my health isn't going down faster than the gauge is filling up, but that gauge is petrification. Petrification is a death blight, if you're familiar with Elden Ring, and equivalent, I forget exactly what it is in Dark Souls 1 and 2, but it's like terror in Sekiro. It's basically an instant kill. And rats are small, so you need to be able to swing down at them. There are some weapons that are not very good at swinging down, or because short reach, it makes it a little bit difficult. Yeah. But considering that I was doing decent damage, and I don't have a ton of souls to lose, I come right back. Because the rats aren't too bad now. I think there is a way to move past into the gutter, which is the area that I'm not going to get to this episode, but I'm prepped to get to, because there is a dark gem on the other side of this boss that I want. I think there's a way to get to it through platforming down the well, but I have always done it where I beat the rat mob boss, in this case the Royal Rat Vanguard, and then use the other side of that, use the other side of the boss room in order to get down to the area with the dark gem and the path to the gutter. So we are working our way that area, and that boss is dangerous because the boss can potentially poison you in 1 or 2 hits, and poison, if you don't have, like, if you're not prepared, poison is, like, worse than rot. You know? Like, maybe I'm just exaggerating, but I've died to the poison from that boss enough times that I'm just, or just getting mobbed and petrified by the rats, that I have significant caution. But yeah, and then here comes our first NPC invader, and also the Stone Ring does apply to the poise damage done on the NPC invaders as well, so I'll be able to stagger them while using the mace. And knowing that there are rats up on this floor, I always just bring him back down to the cleared first floor and fight him down here. And he has an item that makes his weapons invisible, so that doesn't help. But thankfully he is not super bad. I know in like my first playthroughs of Dark Souls 2, like, these NPC invaders gave me so much trouble, but now thankfully I'm able to deal with them pretty easily, even without, I think it's mostly just because I'm used to, like, the strafing. I understand poise a little bit better, and I'm able to just do, like, the no lock-on DS2 combat. I'm not familiar with actual DS2 PvP, so that could be a terrible strategy for all I know when you're fighting other players. However, for cheesing NPCs, walking forward, hitting them with 2 light attacks, and then walking backwards, getting your stamina back, walk forward, hit them with 2 more light attacks, is amazing cheese. And here I just recognize that damage in pretty much all the Souls games comes a little bit more from it comes more from weapon levels than it does stats. Stats is at low level get you the weapons that you want to use, and then and get you health. And it's not until the weapons are more fully upgraded that the damage scaling comes in, and that is when that's when excuse me, that's when the my train of thought will come back in. Yeah, good segue. I'm just like taking a sip of a beverage. But oh yeah, so leveling your adaptability gives you better roll iframes, so that helps without having to strafe as much. Here I just get a bunch of stamina because sometimes it's useful to just be able to keep chaining attacks. I'm starting to get some amount of intelligence because there's a combination in faith requirement for the hexes, which are the dark damage based spells, and also for dark damage scaling on weapons. You want like a good mix of intelligence and faith, because dark damage scales off of the lower of the 2 values. But yeah, so I think where I was is that weapon levels are what gives you most of your damage at low level, and the stats will just give you access to other weapons. And here we're gonna go fight Royal Rat Vanguard. And this is starts off as a mob boss where you fight a bunch of rats, and then another rat comes in that you have to find and fight. And the only reason that you know that the other rat is different is because that rat has a mohawk and deals poison damage to you. But all of the regular rats do petrification damage. So if you're not careful, even if you manage your health well, you can still get petrified and instantly one-shot. However, I don't have the armor and health really for the petrification to be the problem. But I have poison moss to make sure that I don't get poisoned. And I have plenty of healing, because I thought about mentioning it earlier, but I was talking about other stuff. Really, like, all of the healing spells at this point, it's just like, this is just me having extra flasks. So that, as you can see, I only have like 3 Estus flasks, like, relative to like Elden Ring and Dark Souls 1, like Dark Souls 3, like this is like a pittance of renewable healing items at this point in the game. So you have to rely on consumables like life gems or spells. So here, starting off as cleric, just even with its 3 uses of basic heal is like a ton of HP that allows me to just like take a lot more hits, which is useful because not being dead is what wins boss fights. I know that sounds very redundant and obvious, but I am not going to be bursting down a lot of stuff, probably, unless I find something very silly to do to this build. And now, after I defeated enough rats, here comes the Royal Rat Vanguard. He's not hiding those ones. There he is. See? He's got a little mohawk. And he almost poisoned me in one bite. And he also did a decent chunk of petrification, too. So, you gotta be very careful. But then, you know, I always think I'm saying something important, and then I get distracted talking about the boss or something else in the here the extra stamina is nice because I can attack 3 times and roll away, or attack 4 times, so that it kind of matters. See there, I did all 4 attacks, and then I just follow. Oh yeah, I'm not going to be bursting down a lot of bosses in this game without like the Attribute War and stuff in Elden Ring. And there is, like, granted, Royal Rat Vanguard is a bad example because I kind of just burst down the last half of his health bar because he staggered, but like these boss fights are endurance matches, and jokingly saying, by not being dead, I mean, if I am able to attrition the boss and not die longer and just to be able to stay alive, then that I am more likely to win the boss fights, like as I have done so far in this video, as I think is actually a pretty good point, because there are 4 boss fights in this video, and I first try all of them. Granted, I've played this game a lot, and I can't say that they're particularly difficult bosses because they are in the early game, but still we're playing Company of Champions, so they do a lot of damage. So I think that the strategy I'm using, though not super flashy, is pretty robustly effective, at least in carrying through my playstyle of be patient, hit them in the ankle with a blunt object enough times, and then once they get close enough to death, you can do like a full 4 attack chain and like burst them down. Although I have the Archdrake robe, I like the Falconer armor just a little bit better. It gets rid of the braid, but I wanted something that was not just a tattered robe. And the other useful thing is you do have to spend an amount of money, and I forgot this guy's name already, but he sells boss armor later in the game. And it's not a Fromsoft game if you aren't playing a fashion show while you're going through. Oh yeah, so here I am officially going for the dark gem. Yeah, so dark damage is elemental damage. Please forgive me if you're already familiar with this stuff, but I'm trying to go through, be as thorough as possible with the build explanation and strategy for making this one as easy as possible, because they're like the robe effective damage it feels more important in Dark Souls 2 than in most of the other Souls games. That's why I really like having the mace, is because against the heavily armored knights, especially in Haydn's Tower of Flame, it makes it a lot easier, and against some of those heavily armored enemies, some of which also hit really hard and are generally the tougher ones to deal with, dark damage at least has the combination of dark damage plus strike damage. You can do like solid damage through their other resistances, or if you're using a slashing or like thrusting weapon or fire damage, you could run into some problems. So with that in mind, I wanted to grab the dark gem. And here I'm just cleaning up some stuff before I suffer more death. So this is one of 2 types of enemies like this in the game. This one, they do that, they just explode, and there are some that do tons of health damage, and then there are others that do crazy amounts of damage to your equipment. And since I have the dark gem, I am going this way to go find steady hands McDuck. And don't worry, there are more times of me dying. And this way I'm mostly just going because there is a fragrant branch of yore back here in Scholar of the First Sin, and this is just, again, important for getting through because there is a statue blocking ruin sentinels where previously it wasn't. Now this is well, it's a pursuer, but I forget what the technical term for it is, but because you can see all the smoke coming off of him, he is able to use the full pursuer moveset, unlike the boss pursuer. And this guy also hits harder because he's in a layer area. And there are several of these guys, and yeah. So, and each one of them gives you, besides souls, is different items. I think this one just gives you 20%. The ones in Lost Bestial game, as you can see, yeah, dark damage, curse build up, not fun. Yeah, and there I think I'm just like worn away, and then I just get a bad roll and dead. But hey, I got the fragrant branch of the Now here's another attempt where the dogs from inside the room decided to bust through the door and also come help this pursuer kill me. So I will get revenge on this guy in a different episode, and though I will probably show myself dying to him another time later. But with all that being said, we still gotta go make it to Steady Hands McDuff. So that way we can infuse this mace and get dark damage and improve our overall damage output. And also too, because the mace is strength scaling and I'm doing an intelligence faith for dark casting because I want to and I haven't done that before. It's just all good stuff. And I am completely ignoring NPC quests because when I played this game originally, I didn't understand them because I was a teenager and didn't know about walkthroughs on the internet, and I was playing 0.0 version on my Xbox 360. So, we are going off, like, I'm looking stuff up now just to, like, make sure and know things, but there are some stuff, like, completely ignoring Lucatiel with Mira and some of the other NPC quests that are going to carry over from, my first experience of this game, just being blissfully unaware and wandering through it, dying to all of the enemies. Oh yeah, coming from behind is really useful because that way I can push this barrel, which is needed to explode that wall. Now, why me coming from behind and pushing that is important is because this guy with his weapon can sometimes just hit the barrel and make it explode on top of him, which is really not useful because he's supposed to push it down the staircase and then into the wall and then explode it, revealing the bonfire. But when he does that and he just like misses and like whacks the barrel and blows it up, then you have to like go through and refight all of the enemies. Oh yeah, and then you need to light this torch in order to get Steady Hands McDuff to come sit off of this treasure chest and come over to the anvil to infuse your weapons. But still, it's really annoying to have that guy like miss the barrel and blow it up. Yeah, because then you just have to like try again or use a firebomb or just like there's a whole bunch of stuff that like it's really annoying. And granted, I think there's a key for the other door, but I don't like opening up that door because then sometimes the dogs try to come and attack you in there. But now we have a dark infused mace and we can grab all the stuff in these chests. Now the one that McDuff was sitting on has the craftsman's hammer, which is really good weapon. I used it a lot in my very first playthrough of Dark Souls 2. It's a strength scaling weapon, so it's probably not going to be used now, but it's got some good reach on it, and it has outstanding durability. Yeah, and here I'm just going to get, now because there were some large Titanite shards just in there, I'm just going to get the mace upgraded a few times. Yeah, and then I'm also upgrading the hand axe just to keep it up as a good secondary weapon, because like I said, having multiple weapons is nice just in case of the durability, and also with the axe being slashing damage, the like robed enemies, I might do some more damage. Like, there are things that I can do more damage to with the axe than the mace in theory. However, most of the enemies that are kind of rough in this game are the more heavily armored enemies, so that's why I like prioritizing the weapons like the mace, and yeah, sometimes you just have a rough time, and like I said, even with the upgraded weapon, this guy was still giving me a little bit of trouble, but that's one of the nice things about Dark Souls 2 is because of the 4 paths, if you get stuck on one for a little bit, you can just go down a different one and have a wonderful time and not worry about metaphorically ramming your head into the wall a bunch of times. You could go try a different path, get some more levels, get some more items, and upgrade materials, and then be on your way back. So that's what we're doing. We're going to go to Hyde's Tower of Flame to go take down the last 2 bosses of this video, Dragon Rider and Dragon Slayer Ornstein. I mean, old Dragon Rider is pretty much Ornstein from DS1 minus the floaty teleport around mechanic of him just like charging through, and I think he uses like a little bit of dark damage. Now that item was the Broken Thief's Sword, so entirely useless to me. But yeah, so that's one of the Hyde Knights that will become aggressive later. And these are the old knights that I was talking about, why it's really nice to have strike damage, so that way I can just take them down quite easily. They give a good amount of souls. And if this was not Company of Champions, I would absolutely just, I wouldn't show it because it was boring, but I'd grind them down to where they don't respawn, so I can just walk to the bosses. And yeah, as you can see, the Hyde Knights do a lot of damage because they have lightning infused stuff, and without the stone ring, I don't think the mace really does much to stagger them. I apologize here because I think there's a little bit of audio repeat for some of the weapons. I'm not exactly sure why that happens, but sorry. And here I would I stop and run back to the bonfire because I forget that I don't have a human effigy in my inventory that I can just use to go back to full health. So I do a quick run back to Jula, and then come back here. So then after cleaning up the first area, I go on to this guy, and this guy he just falls off, which is hilarious. And then with him being dead, I get this particular level, this lever that raises one of the rings in Dragon Rider's arena. Now the speed run just does a trick to have Dragon Rider just like walk off like that knight did for a very easy quick kill on the boss. However, I don't know how to do that, so we're just gonna fight him normally, and yeah. And now in this area, now these guys are slow enough that theoretically I could at least run past them, but there's another lever right there, and in New Game Plus they add another giant knight there, and I think it's one of the mace guys, which are generally the most durable and hard-hitting, where the greatsword guy, he's really hard-hitting, but he's like a glass cannon. And I just have to, like, lure these two around for a little bit, because they have very long attack phases, as you can see. Because, like, they're easy to walk away from because they're big and slow. However, because they have, they attack like 3 or 4 times and it's all really slow, it's just like, it's hard to get them separated and to just like get an opening for me to attack. However, I think here just one of them just decides that he wants to come fight over here on the bridge. Here I try and get him to fall, but he doesn't until I give him a little bit of encouragement. And I get the second lever, and now I have the full arena where I won't accidentally walk off the edge and die. And like I said, all the Hide Knights are currently not aggressive, which means maybe I should have gone for Old Dragon Slayer first, but there is. So why I'm going for Dragon Rider first is because this bonfire technically has a little bit of less enemies, and I think it's a little easier to get through to the old Dragon Slayer, because there's an actual dragon guarding the Old Dragon Slayer, instead of just like a little drawbridge lever. So you have to defeat the dragon, and then you have to live and collect the item if you want it. Because if you die when the dragon is dead, then the item is dropped and you don't grab it, it just goes away, and it's a once per playthrough item. And it's like a covetous silver serpent on top of a shield. And obviously I feel that more important than Dragon Rider, because yeah. This is really funny about me taking, even though there's going to be time for me to show it, I'm talking about how I get to the next boss while fighting this guy. Yeah, once you fight enough Dragon Rider, because there's also several other Dragon Riders that just spawn later in the game. There's a double Dragon Rider boss fight. Once you fight enough of them and get used to it, he's pretty easy to just walk around, strafe, smack in the butt, and leave. Now, you could kick this person off the edge and get a item to just access Huntsman's Copse and Old Iron Keep. However, I actually want some of the miracles. So, although I can't use all of them just yet, I am gonna buy a bunch of stuff. Then exhausting her dialogue will get her to move back to Majula and a place where she can open up the path to Huntsman's Copse. And I apologize about the little, I had no idea why the game audio was echoing there. And here I am going to go grab the Ring of Binding before getting all of my stuff refilled. Or actually, I'm not even going to go grab the Ring of Binding. I'm just going to straight up die to that Hide Knight first. What the Ring of Binding does is it minimizes the amount of maximum health lost whenever you are cursed or die repeatedly. So instead of losing like up to 50% of your health, you only lose like 25 after you've died like a bunch. And then with the amount of vigor you get in this game, like you can run around with 75% of your maximum health and be totally fine. But yeah, so, oh yeah, the dragon. So because this could just be a get good situation, but I'm terrible at navigating the fire breath if the dragon like is aggro at all, because there's like a little bridge and I always get hit multiple times with the fire breath, probably because I'm just doing the wrong inputs or something. So not wanting to die horrible repeated deaths to the dragon after clear, like I'm making sure to clear every single enemy along the way so that way I can sprint across the tiny narrow bridge that the dragon can completely fill with fire, to then go fight the dragon, hold the drawbridge, and get to old Dragon Slayer. And then because of how everything is set up here, I can fight this guy and then lure the greatsword guy, and then there's only one knight left, so instead of fighting the two knights as you saw from when I came from the first bonfire, here I can fight everything one at a time, which is very useful, because I thought I had before recording this is that like in Elden Ring you're able to deal with groups a lot easier because of Ashes of War, where you're not having access to like the bigger AoEs, it makes things a bit more difficult in this game. Here we are. So, but I am slowly making progress, fighting these guys one at a time, and also what stinks is the most difficult Hide Knight is like the one that's right before the dragon. It's got a lightning spear and does crazy amounts of damage and has like longer hit combos than the other Hide Knights. So it's just really rough that he's last. Now here, I'm standing at this wall specifically so that way the Hide Knight can, because he runs faster, can run around the other knight. Where if you stand more closer on the left side of that path or in the doorway, the Hide Knight will just push the other knight into this room, which is really annoying. And here I get some nice backstabs on these guys. And as you can see, even with like some of the strong attacks, they just like don't stagger super well, and it's even worse without the stone plate ring. I mean, not the stone plate ring; those are resistance rings. The stone ring. So here now I just have the one last. I'm just reorganizing stuff a little bit, but here I have the one last big knight and one last Hide Knight, and then in theory I am on to the dragon. And then old dragon. And radiant life gems are just better versions of life gems. They just restore more HP per second. And then once I have enough health, I'm able to just run back over to this guy and start moving forward. Oh, and why I gain a little bit of health on every enemy defeated is I have the Ring of the Evil Eye. Technically I could have gone and gotten the, I want to say it's the Princess Ring, but I think that's wrong. But there's a ring that does slow HP regeneration over time, and also there's like the Chloranthy ring for increased stamina. However, the auras just get cloggy, and I want to, even though I have the zombie face right now, I like being able to look at the fashion of the armor without the extra aura stuff. And as you can see, this guy is nasty, horrible, terrible, and it wants me very dead. And from Captain Korak. adaptability and having moongrim levels, parrying levels of roll catching, I died. But thanks to the power of editing, we're back here. He sadly does not fall off. However, I can have I'm able to have a better second round against him. But I have no shame in running for the life gems taking effect. And I forget how much more poise damage they do, but being able to connect with the strong attacks on the mace are really nice. And there I'm able to just get the backstab and just do so much of his health damage. And because of good positioning, I have the R2s, and then with just like the tiny little bit of stamina left, I'm able to get it now. Because that's what it is, like, you have, with some enemies and bosses, you have time for like another attack or to disengage before their attack lands. So if you know that you're able to finish them off in one shot, you can do that and just like save a lot of trouble. And yeah, as you can see, like the dragon waking up gives me just enough time to make it across that bridge before they start breathing fire and either knock me off the bridge or just kill me because it hits me twice. So yeah, so all of that work, all of the clearing all of the enemies is literally just so I can fight this dragon without having 3 Hide Knights trying to run me down while I'm waiting to defeat this dragon and pull this lever. And because I'm spicy, we're gonna go fight old Dragon Slayer without any Estus. But however, the life gems really do like the same amount of healing as Estus at this point, so it's not really, well, 7 life gems because I just cracked one open. The repair powder probably is not necessary, but it made me feel better. And yeah, we're gonna go fight the discount Dragon Slayer Ornstein. And again, this is going to be a lot of strafing the attacks, besides just getting impaled immediately. And this is a lot of this familiarity is just because I've played this game a lot and I've died a lot. So as we go with the boss fight, I wanted to say in advance, thank you everyone. I know this is a super long episode. I hope you are enjoying this journey, and in this case through Strong Lake instead of the lands between. And it's a lot of fun for me to revisit this game. And I know it's got its flaws, but sometimes you do want quantity of bosses over quality, because you just want to see a bunch of health bars go down to 0. So yeah, as you can see, it's a lot easier to strafe around his left, and that you can't block. If he will, when he does like the second up thrust, he'll go through the shield and knock you on your butt. So don't try, and yeah, I learned that the hard way. But because it's a thrusting weapon, he's really only able to attack it more straightforward, and that's off of his right-hand side. So by strafing around his left, it's not trivial, but you can be pretty safe in hitting his left ankle. And you see he threw a dark orb and busted up some columns, and sometimes he just likes to stand and have a nice little conversation. So I decided to end it and get him back on attack cycles, and yeah. And I forgot that he was defeated there, and I have some more level up stuff to go through. But still, it wasn't I do appreciate all your time and so even even though it was before the end of the videos, still thank you for your time. Here the cracked blue eye orbs and stuff are kind of useless because I'm just doing this offline by myself, and I'm not really using the tower shield, though it absolutely helped carry me through a lot of silliness in my very first playthrough, where I had never touched a Souls game before. But yeah, now with this, I am able to get quite a few useful level ups. More health. I apologize for the audio cut there because I just had a really nasty sneeze. But I'm able to get some nice level ups for pretty much a lot of things. Here I'm able to get a second spell slot. Yeah, there's just, with having gone clearing an area and then also defeating the boss just gives you an absolute ton of souls to work with, and it's just, yeah, this game like kind of throws levels at you, but that's not a bad thing because there sometimes the things are a little bit greedy in terms of stats, like having equip load and overall stamina being separate stats. So with that, yeah, things are looking good to continue crushing a bunch of bosses. So and here I'm just equipping, I believe, Great Heal Excerpt because it only requires 14 faith and is another just really nice spell to have to replace Flask. So thank you all for watching, and I will catch you in the next video. See ya!